Welcome to episode 111 of the Valley Sports Talk podcast. As always, my name is Noah, joined by my fellow co-host Brandon. We just sort of had a bit of a hiccup in the system. We
What's new?
started recording, and all of a sudden, you said yours flickered.
I can't tell because the thing just ended and but it could have been yours now that I think about it. But my oven beeped right as you cut out. So I was like, I probably flickered.
So, for context, yes, we are back in North Bay, as you can tell by our backgrounds. If you are a long subscriber or long watcher, whatever the heck you are, you would probably know that for the last 2 years, Brandon and I lived together in the same house at school. That's no longer the case. He lives about 30 minutes away. So my power completely went out at the house, and Brandon's, he believes, flickered.
Who
I
knows?
guess we'll never know the answer to that.
You never know.
But yeah, we are trying to record this again, episode 111. What was I saying? I was saying right before we went out, there's not much going on in the sports world, but
No.
the NFL season did start yesterday, and I think that's exactly where we cut out.
Basically, yep. That's basically where we cut out. I mean, I don't know I know you missed the first basically quarter because of class.
Well,
Um,
not even like I missed the first drive. I got the ball because it got rescheduled, right? Because of the thunder, the lightning delay.
yeah, the game was like 30 minutes behind, and man, did that make for a late game.
Oh,
But
I didn't stay up for the end of
I
the game.
did.
I fell asleep.
I did it. But
Um, yeah,
go ahead.
the game got postponed. I had class till 8:50. So I got home around 9. So I got the ball. I didn't see Derrick Henry's touchdown. But I saw Xavier Worthy's touch, or I got it spoiled by me first before I saw
Yeah,
it.
same.
For those of you who don't
That was
know, me and or I'm assuming you were illegally stream or not illegally, probably we were streaming it.
it. Yeah, we were streaming it.
And B Fish, who you guys would know, puts in the group chat, "Oh my God, is Xavier Worthy ever quick? Look at that touchdown!" Like right as the play was starting, I'm like, "Okay, well here comes an Xavier Worthy jet sweep touchdown." And what happened? It was a jet sweep touchdown.
And guess who didn't start him in fantasy this week?
You? Did you?
Did
He
not.
didn't he have two touchdowns?
Yep. He
Why
had two
didn't you?
touchdowns. I didn't start him
Wow.
because I thought they were going to force feed Rashi Rice, which is what they did. Um,
Yeah, but
if,
he didn't have a
if I
touchdown. He
pull
just
up if I
had.
pull up fantasy right now
I'm on it right now because I'm playing against him in another league.
without those touchdowns, he had two. He would have had less than 10 points. Oh no, he would have had basically right on 10 points.
Hmm,
So I don't regret my decision.
fair enough.
Start against two touchdowns. He's sitting around 10.
I didn't get any of that. You froze.
What the hell? Okay, well,
It
basically,
just told. It's telling me right now that it's my internet. My internet connection is unstable.
wow, this I kind of like this, Normally it's me, so it feels great that it's not me for once. Being at the cottage, I have great Wi-Fi here. But I was saying I don't regret my decision. Obviously, you want to start someone that in fantasy that scores two touchdowns, but I mean, if he doesn't score those two touchdowns, he has like 10 points.
For
So you
sure.
gotta live by it. That's fantasy for you, though.
That is fantasy for you. So on today's episode, we don't. I mean, it could be there's a chance it could be a quicker one because, like we said, there's not much going on. It's cool that there is a game tonight. It's Brand's Packers. They play the Eagles in Brazil, so it should be a good game.
Hoping so.
Um, it'll be interesting to see sort of the fan or like the crowd and even just like the atmosphere and maybe the field, how the stadium is and stuff like that, if it's gonna make the game easier or harder, you know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I don't know what the actual record is and where this has happened, but there's the chance that this is the most watched football game, like in person. Because where else have they gone internationally? Because they're playing at a soccer field, right?
They went to London. London, they played where Tottenham plays. That's a pretty
Okay,
big
so that's a
stadium.
pretty big stadium too, eh?
Yeah, they've played in London a couple times. It's the first time they've been to Brazil.
Yeah, but Brazil's a big soccer country or football as they call it down there,
Yeah,
and so I feel like there's gonna like it's gonna be packed. Every seat's gonna be bought, and I mean
100%.
I don't know the size of the soccer field they're playing on, but
I'll figure it out.
I would imagine it's got to be pretty large. But
I'll fact check it.
yeah, I don't know. Do you want to talk about that game first, or do you want to go back, zip back to last night real quick?
We can, while I'm talking about this, we can zip back quickly, give your thoughts on the game last night.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it started off a little late because of the weather, but the teams did not start late as first two drives from both teams resulted in a touchdown. Um, Baltimore seemed a little bit different just because I don't know if you actually stayed up long enough to hear this, but Lamar's average depth of target was almost behind the line of scrimmage.
I didn't stay up to see that, but I could honestly probably could have
Yeah,
told you that based off watching like the 2.5 quarters I did watch.
yeah.
Um, it seemed like a lot of his throws were either check downs or like they were like little screen plays. Like I only remember seeing them go like deep once or twice to Zay Flowers and maybe once or twice to Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, like Justice Hill had a lot of action, 8 targets, 6 receptions, all behind the line of scrimmage. Um, like Isaiah Likely had the one big 50-yard touchdown, but even that wasn't a deep pass. Isaiah Likely just did it all himself, basically. Didn't see much of Mark Andrews.
At all.
He
Yeah, or his counterpart, Travis Kelce. Neither of them were
Yeah,
really factors in this game.
that's a good point. I feel like I don't know if that we saw that from Kansas City last year too, kind of saving Travis Kelce. But for for Mark Andrews, it's a little bit more confusing because it's not like they didn't get the tight ends involved. Isaiah Likely had 12 targets, over 100 yards and a touchdown, where Mark Andrews, even though he only caught 2 balls, it wasn't like he was targeted a bunch. He was only targeted twice. He caught both of his targets. So it was weird to see Mark Andrews not involved concerning the one time he did catch a pass for a first down. He kind of trucked through somebody and he looked back like he looked extremely healthy and they were talking about he feels 100%. So that was kind of confusing. Um, Also on the Baltimore side, I don't know if this confused you or not. I feel like they didn't use Derrick Henry as much as people
No,
thought.
so they in the first quarter they used him 5 times in an opening drive, and they only used him 3 other times, or handed him they only handed the ball off to him 3 other times on in that first half. I don't know the
Mhm.
stats of the second half, but that was
I
just
have him
one
right
of the
now. He
stats
had
I saw.
13 carries for 46 yards.
That doesn't sound like much.
But then again, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson had 16 carries. So it
Yeah,
kind
but
of
that's
looked
like
like
Lamar. That's yeah.
it basically looked like a three running back system where Lamar was the workhorse. It's weird saying that as a quarterback. Derrick Henry was the guy they gave it to. Every time it was like a 2nd and 3 or a 3rd and 3, Derrick Henry was getting the ball. And then Justice Hill was the receiving back. I mean, 8 targets is a lot of targets for a guy who didn't even know if he was going to touch the field much. But then on the other side, like if we're talking about running backs, Isaiah Pacheco got a lot of run. He had 15 carries, but no yards. He had 45 yards. So it wasn't a good run game from either team tonight or last night, I
No,
guess.
you could definitely tell it was the first game of the season. It was not obviously the cleanest game.
Yeah.
Um, on both sides, there was a lot of sort of miscues, a lot of missed blocks. I found that a lot. The one I'm speaking of specifically is that Zay Flowers really went for it on fourth down. He
Yeah.
sort of like lined up behind the tackle and he sort of went out for a little flare. And Nelson Aguilar didn't even touch Trent
No,
McDuffie, and it was
yeah.
just an easy tackle. I feel like that if Aguilar makes that block and Zay Flowers gets a first down, we might have a completely different outcome.
Totally.
Unfortunate outcome to the end. There was a very nice play by Lamar that unfortunately Isaiah Likely had a foot out, but yeah,
I mean, if Isaiah Likely's half a foot size smaller, it's a touchdown.
it's a
It was like
touchdown. Yeah.
he was just on. But what'd you think of the quarterbacks? Obviously, Lamar's end stats looked really good, but I feel like well, it wasn't enough, obviously. And as for Patrick Mahomes, like he still almost had 300 yards passing, um, but it didn't look like he was dominant, right? It was just kind of like the yards just kind of stacked up at the end, but it was kind of just a slog fest. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly like I just mentioned. I think the fact that it was a first game of the year for both teams. Both teams did not look like their teams. I'm 100% certain that both these teams will be playoff teams and both these teams will look like completely different teams come the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just weird to see that. Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce for their respective teams were the second highest scoring fantasy tight ends on their team in the same game. That's just kind of weird to say, but that kind of wraps up the game. Obviously, it was an exciting game. It was close the whole time. Both teams scored on their first drive. Then we kind of had a dry spell in scoring for a bit. And then the second half, specifically in the fourth quarter, it started heating up, and the Chiefs won by a touchdown, but it was a toe away from going to overtime. So pretty good opening game.
It honestly would have been interesting to see if Baltimore. I think Baltimore would have went for two if
True,
that
I guess they
touchdown
wouldn't have
stood.
gone to overtime because you did see Harbaugh, he instantly put up two fingers.
100%. That's the type
Yeah.
of coach Harbaugh is. 100% would have not been shocked to not see them go for
Yeah,
two.
it's a good point. That game wasn't going to overtime. I forgot
No,
about the
it was it was
yeah,
ending right there no matter what.
yeah, which is good. I mean,
Um
yeah, good game to start with.
yeah, so and then tonight the Packers play the Eagles in Brazil. I looked up the stadium. It would be the smallest NFL stadium by about 12,000
The
fans.
smallest?
Yeah, and it's not very
Oh,
close.
okay, that's surprising to
The
me. 'Cause
capacity is
normally,
49,000 people. The
okay,
smallest NFL stadium is the Bears Stadium, Soldier Field at 61,000.
okay, because normally soccer fields are massive, right? But
Can you guess what the biggest stadium is?
in the NFL,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good question. I feel like it would. Is it one you would expect?
Yeah. I don't think you'll think of it, but whenever I tell you, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Like Vegas,
No.
LA?
No.
Um,
LA is 12th.
okay. I picked Vegas just because they were a new stadium.
Vegas is 27th. It's a brand new stadium, but they're 27th.
Really? Okay. I just assumed they would have more. AFC or NFC?
Um, NFC.
Are they
One's
projected?
NFC, one's AFC,
Are they
if that
projected?
helps.
Are they projected to be a playoff team
One probably is.
in the AFC or NFC? Which one?
They're both. This should give it away.
It
One
doesn't.
one
It
team's in the
should.
NFC, one team's in the AFC. What's the only team in the NFL that a team shares a stadium?
It should. Oh, New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
MetLife Stadium has a capacity of 82.5.
I did not know, and this might be embarrassing to admit. I didn't know they shared a stadium because LA
Until
does,
now?
right? Does LA?
No.
Yeah, LA doesn't. I didn't know New York shared a stadium.
Yeah, no. The Rams and the Oh yeah, the Rams and Chargers do. They're both at SoFi.
Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're both at SoFi.
For some reason I didn't. Okay, you learn something new every day, right?
The second biggest stadium is Lambeau.
Lambo, it's so old. I didn't think it'd be that big, but good for them. Good for
81,144,000.
Lambo.
Such a weird number. 81,441.
Yeah, why
Why
not?
couldn't they make it 450 or 400 or 500? I don't
Too
know.
much
Who knows?
work. They got lazy. Do you think they picked the Eagles and the Packers because they're green and Brazil is their flag's green?
Well, I mean, the Packers one makes sense because they're green and yellow.
Yeah. I just thought two
Um,
green team.
the Eagles, I mean, sure. I think they're
Just kind
also
of
trying to think, okay, we got to put a game in Brazil. We want it to be competitive. What are the two sort of, I guess you can say green teams that are most competitive? It was either them or the Jets, and I don't think they want the Jets starting. I don't think they want Aaron Rodgers near Brazil.
yeah, that's a good imagine they had Aaron Rodgers against Green Bay.
I feel like he would get shot before he even gets to the stadium in Brazil.
He might. He might. Getting back on track though, I'll ask you a question, and I'll answer after. Give me what each team has to do to win this game. Like if Philly wins this game, they did what well. If Green Bay wins, they did this well.
Green Bay needs to use their air attack to beat the um Eagles. All we know the Eagles have a great tops D line and linebackers. So I don't think the run game will be. Maybe it will. It'll be interesting to see how Josh Jacobs looks in his first game with the Packers. But knowing how good the Eagles' offensive line is, I don't think the run game will be too effective. So I think we're gonna look at Jalen Reed, and Christian Watson and Jordan Love and Luke Musgrave and that young receiving core to see if they can sort of stretch the field and expose the Eagles secondary. And for the Eagles, I think the one thing you have to do is you have to establish the run game, whether it's an option. play with Saquon. You got to get Saquon involved. You know, you sign him to a lot of money. You got to get him involved early, and get him comfortable behind that great offensive line that the Eagles have.
Yeah, mine for Philly was pretty similar. Obviously, Green Bay, if they have one weakness, it is their run defense, and you have one of the best quarterback running back duos in Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. So if they can get that run game going on Green Bay early and often, it gives them a great chance of success. If you're Green Bay, it's kind of along the same thing you said, but a little different. You have so many young wide receivers where none of them, they're so young that none of them have turned into the alpha yet, which I think is kind of a good thing. You got five options in Musgrave, Reed, Dobbs, Watson, and Wicks. And I think if you can spread the ball out and not force feed one guy, it makes Philly's secondary have to work so much harder because they can't double one guy. They have to worry about a bunch of different people. So if they can pass, if Love can hand the ball out to all of them a decent amount, then that'll make Philly's defense have to work that much harder. So I think for Green Bay, it's kind of the passing game where if you're Philly, you want to get that run game going early.
For sure.
Who do you think's going to win?
Um, I don't know. I know the Packers de receiver core is young and talented, but it still does scare me a little bit.
I agree. Yep.
So I'm gonna go Eagles, but I think it's gonna be like one score. It's not gonna be a blowout. It's gonna be a back and forth game down to the wire.
No, I totally agree. I'm not going to be biased here. I think the Eagles do have a better roster here. I think what the Eagles do really well is what Green Bay doesn't do well, which it makes for a bad matchup. I think these are two really good rosters, but the fact that the Eagles have one of the best running backs in the league matched with one of the best running quarterbacks in the league is going to be really difficult for Green Bay's run defense to handle. So I do think Philly might take this one in a close game as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I do think it'll be a relatively close game, and it'd be good if it starts off close because then we would get two sort of good games to start off the NFL season, which should bode well for the other games coming.
Exactly.
Oh, my microphone.
What happened to your microphone?
I just said on top that it got changed to the MacBook. Why? But yeah. All right. Let's jump into some NFL award predictions.
Cool.
So we'll do the
Absolutely.
five major ones because Coach of the Year is kind of hard because there could be a sleeper team that sort of comes out and that. So we're gonna do our MVPs, our DPOY and OPOY, and our O Rook and D Rook.
Cool. Okay.
All
Uh,
right.
I guess I'll start.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm gonna pick Joe Burrow as my MVP. I think even though I think the Ravens are gonna win the division, I think the Bengals are gonna have a really good record. You have to have a good record to win the MVP. They don't just hand it out to a 500 team. So I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on the Bengals just because of the Jamar Chase kind of drama, but he will be on the field probably come game day. I'm hoping, I'm assuming. And with Joe Burrow being healthy and the group being healthy, he's going to go back to what he did 2 years ago instead of last year, and he's going to be back in that MVP conversation. So I don't want to pick a favorite because that's just boring. So if I'm going to pick a guy somewhat down the list, it'd be Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I've been preaching this for a while. My MVP can or prediction this year is going to be CJ Stroud. Sometimes rookie quarter or not rookie, sophomore quarterbacks have a bit of a sophomore slump. But I don't think that's going to happen this year with CJ. He had an amazing rookie year last year, obviously, with guys like Tank Dell and Nico Collins, and now they added Stephon Diggs to that mix, as well as a better defense. So it's gonna sort of prevent him from everything being on him. I think the Texans are actually like a sleeper team this year, to maybe even win it all. Like I think a lot of people aren't looking at them to do it, but I think that this roster is very well put together and they've done a really good job at their rebuild. It's been a sort of a quick rebuild, but I think that's CJ Stroud has the talent and the weapons to do this. So yeah, I got all my eggs in CJ Stroud's basket.
And they gained experience, obviously winning a playoff game and then keeping it close against Kansas City last. They played Kansas City, right? And it was a close
I
one.
believe
So
so.
I could see it. My offensive player of the year, I'm gonna go a little bold with this one. You might like this one actually. I'm gonna go Bijan.
I love it.
I think that's a little risky, but I feel like if you look at all the top favorites, they're all wide receivers. Where if you, except for Christian McCaffrey, obviously, but I feel like with the new head coach and new system out there in Atlanta, especially with Kirk Cousins, he's always had a pretty good running back beside him. Well, whether it's Dalvin or others. I feel like this is the year they finally just commit to Bijan and use him all the time, and we're going to see what kind of player he actually is. And in his split work last year, he looked really good. And if he gets all that work, or not all of it, but if he gets a majority of it, along with the passing ability that he'll now have, having Kirk as a quarterback, I think his numbers are going to be really good this year. Plus, we're both thinking Atlanta's going to be a playoff team, so that mixed with his play, I think he could be in contention.
Yeah, totally. He's definitely got the skill set, and I think that this offense will be dynamic enough where he's going to be used a lot. Mine's a bit more basic. I'm going to go my offensive player being CeeDee Lamb. I know he probably didn't have much of a training camp, so the first like maybe week or two might be a bit rough for him, obviously getting back into it. But he put up the most receptions in the league last year. He was like third in yards. Dak's playing for basically a contract. So I know that Dak is going to throw the ball, and he's going to throw the ball to his guy in TD. Um, that being put together, I don't see how CeeDee Lamb will put up less than the receptions he had last year, and if not more yards, more touchdowns. Like I just think it's gonna be a massive year for CD, and Dak. So I actually consider Dak as one of my MVP just because I think he's gonna be so motivated to sort of prove Jerry Jones wrong and get that contract that he thinks he deserves. But yeah, my Opoi will be CD Lamb.
Yeah, I was actually debating between CD and Bijan just because, like you said, they even though they're all I know I'm not gonna say vets in the league, but they've been around for a while, and normally this doesn't happen with people of their age, but they have something to prove because even though they're good, the contract negotiations, one, it's just kind of settled with CD, and two, Doc doesn't have one, so they're going to be looking to prove something out there. So I agree with that one. My rookie of the year
Do you
is
want to do Depoy
offensive.
first?
Oh, we can do Depoy first.
I can do
I
both
think
rookies.
okay. I'm gonna do TJ Watt. I think he got snubbed last year. Um, I think again another vet that
I think
feels
you could argue he gets snubbed every year.
exactly, which I feel like you can't. It's kind of like Jokic in the NBA, right? You can't give it to the same guy over and over and over and over because then people get bored. But so I feel like he didn't get it last year, so he's gonna come get it this year, obviously. Um, I think Pittsburgh has the chance to be better with. I mean, even though we're not big Russ fans, he is an upgrade from Kenny Pickett, and if Russ can't play, which looks like it might actually happen with the injury he's got going on, I think oh my God, I'm blanking.
Justin
Justin
Fields.
Fields could come in and he will be better than Kenny Pickett as well. So they got two quarterbacks better than what they had. I feel like they could be a fringe playoff team, and if they are, that defense is going to have to hold up like they have the past however many years. And TJ Watt's the captain of that. So I'm going to give it to TJ.
Yeah, my Depoy is going to be Chris Jones of Kansas City. I think that he's
He looked
been,
great.
yeah, that sort of. I was actually already most likely going to pick him going into the year, but after watching him last year, it sort of cemented him. I feel like Chris Jones is obviously one of the best, if not the best, D tackle in the league, but I feel like he's always been sort of more of an underrated player, compared to some other guys that get talked about. I feel like he's not talked about as much as he really should. And he showed last night how dominant he can be. He got double teamed almost 50% of the time. Strip sack, he's just a beast out there. And I think that if he puts it together for a full season, I think he could easily win. Depoy. He's not going to obviously get the sacks like TJ Watt does, but he'll get the TFLs, he'll get the pressures, he'll get all that stuff. And all those counting stats are great numbers, again, if you're trying to win Depoy.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good pick as well. So we're going to offensive rookie of the year. Okay, my offensive rookie of the year is going to be Jaden Daniels.
Oh, you're boring because mine is too.
Okay, well, you talk about Jaden. I'll talk about my second then. Honestly, if I had to pick a non-quarterback, I'm going Marvin Harrison just because I feel like this offense will be better than people think. I don't think Arizona is going to be like a playoff team or anything, but they do have pieces on that offense. I think they're going to be in a lot of high scoring games. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot because their defense sucks. They're going to be letting up a lot of points. So like Kyler's either going to be running or throwing deep balls to Marvin Harrison, and I feel like he's going to have a really good rookie year. So I feel like if it doesn't go to one of the quarterbacks, I feel like Marvin Harrison has a great chance with the amount of throwing Arizona's going to have to do to try and get back into games.
Yeah, so mine, like I said, is Jaden Daniels. Um, I've been very high on Jaden Daniels all off season, all draft year, during the draft and all that. I am very convinced that he's going to be the best quarterback out of this draft class, over guys like Drake May and the number one pick, Caleb Williams. I don't really have a reason why. It's just sort of one of those gut feelings. I think that sort of Caleb Williams has always sort of been talked about as being this big guy, number one pick, generational talent. And then Jaden Daniels has sort of been put in his shadow. I think Jaden Daniels is honestly in a better situation in Washington. You're going to be like, okay, how is he in a better situation? It's because he's not being talked about as much.
There's
There's
no
all the
pressure.
pressure on Caleb Williams to perform to the number one pick, where Jaden Daniels went number two, and I feel like I haven't heard about him all. The only time I heard about him in the offseason was whenever I heard that he won the starting job. Um,
There's a lot of people talking about the Bears having like a 10 win, 11 win season, making
Yeah,
the
I think the Commanders aren't going to be a good team, but I think that having a good receiver like Scary Terry there, having decent running back in Brian Robinson and a decent O-line, will help him win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I'm very high on him as a prospect and a quarterback.
I could definitely see that. So we're gonna go to defensive rookie.
Yep.
I'm gonna go to Dallas Turner, edge rusher for the Minnesota
Me.
Vikings. Is that what you're picking?
Nope.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I thought you were saying me too.
No.
I'm gonna pick that just because I feel like it's all about what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's all about opportunity. That's the word I'm looking for. And if Minnesota wants to be good, their defense is going to have to play big because obviously they got weapons on the offense, but with Sam Darnold throwing them the ball, you don't know how many points they're going to be able to put up. So that defense is going to have to hold teams. And one of the best ways to hold teams is to knock that quarterback down and not give him much time to throw the ball, right? So I feel like for the Minnesota Vikings, the D line is going to be extremely important as they don't have the best secondary. So they're not going to want to give opposing quarterbacks a lot of time to throw that ball downfield because it might get caught a lot of the time. So for Minnesota to have a positive season, I think their D line needs to be one of the most important positions on their team, and he's a quick guy. Is like his dashes in the combine were quick, and he's a big boy himself. He's like 6'4", 250. So I think with a quick guy like that with some size can cause a lot of hectic down there by the other team's quarterback.
Yeah, my DPOY of the year is an edge rusher, but it's going to be Jared Verse of the Rams,
More.
Florida State guy. I just think that he is in a bit of a better situation. I know I keep using the word situation, but I think they're sort of going to use him. Obviously, he's not going to be an Aaron Donald, but he's going to be sort of that Aaron Donald role,
Yeah.
where they did lose him as an edge rusher, and I think that he's in a lot less of a sort of pressured situation or like situation, because I think the Rams are going to be good because they have Stafford healthy. So I think that this defense is sort of going to be the hold down point of that team, because we know they're going to score with Puka, Cooper Cup, and guys like that, and Kyron. Um, so I don't think there's as much pressure on sort of Jared Verse as there might be on a guy like Dallas Turner.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. How much time we got left?
Well, I don't have the 10-minute timer yet, so
So we got lots of time.
over 10 minutes.
Do you want to talk about your team since we talked about
Sure.
we don't have to go through every Sunday football game, but we could talk about the Falcons as they play at 1 o'clock, their home opener. Uh, their home opener in a year where they actually have hope for the first time in forever. Um,
No, I
if you're
just got it.
if you're Atlanta, how do you game plan considering you don't know if it's going to be Russ or Justin Fields because Russ is currently dealing with an injury?
I don't think your game plan changes. I think you come in with the same game plan no matter what quarterback you're going.
Really? They're
You
two
actually,
totally different guys.
I still don't think it changes. I think you come in. um, with the mindset of how you're gonna play. Um, if we're gonna go with if it's gonna be Justin Fields, I could see the Falcons running a lot of three safety personnels. Obviously, we know they have two all-pro safeties, but Richie Grant's not a slouch. I think using him in the box to maybe contain a guy like Justin Fields if he is the starter. Because obviously I don't think a linebacker is really going to be able to keep up with Justin Fields. Well, the Falcons do a really fast linebacker in Troy Anderson, who was a running back his first 2 years of college and then converted to a linebacker. So they do have speed at that position, but if Justin Fields is starting, I think you're going to see a lot of three safety sets with Richie Grant and Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons all on the field at once. But yeah, I don't think your game plan changes too much being what quarterback comes into this game.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's I do think, let me preference this. I do think the Falcons will win, but I do actually think that the Steelers aren't a great matchup for the Falcons just because, like you said, they went hard on their secondary, right? Like they signed a couple guys, and Atlanta's secondary might be one of the best in the NFL now. But really, all Pittsburgh has is George Pickens. So like you got that good secondary to deal with one guy, right? Just for this matchup, because you're not really worried about a guy like Van Jefferson or anybody else. It's just kind of Pickens who can make plays that it doesn't matter what secondary you got on him, he's going to make the catch. He's just so athletic. But um, I think, yeah, I think it's just going to be depend on how they can defend the tight end because I don't know. I don't know what you think. I just think obviously Atlanta's biggest part of additions on defense is a secondary where they're not really going to need it against Pittsburgh, in my opinion.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I said, you can always like I know Jesse Bates loves to or not, yeah, Jesse Bates loves to be that sort of ball hawk safety where I think you can move Justin Simmons up into the box and get him on a guy like Freiermuth, and Justin Simmons is a great coverage safety. So I don't think there are going to be any issues with that secondary based off how versatile both Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, and even like I mentioned, Richie Grant can be.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's be non-biased for a second. If Pittsburgh's going to win this game, what weakness of Atlanta are they going to exploit?
It's got to be Atlanta's corners not named AJ Terrell. They got to target a guy like D. Alford or a guy like Mike Hughes. So I honestly think the way that the Steelers are going to beat this Atlanta team is by getting those depth receivers in. I know you already know AJ Terrell is going to be on George Pickens. Obviously George Pickens is still going to get his catches, but I think it's going to be harder for him to get his catches on a guy like AJ Terrell. So I think you need guys like Van Jefferson to be those number two guys on those depth corners that may not be as strong for Atlanta. And I think you got to sort of try to expose that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we'll go back to Atlanta's side. As an Atlanta fan, what are you looking for in the first couple drives?
I think you got to establish a run right away. You said Bijan's your Opoy of the year. Um, as much as you want to get the ball to Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, I think getting Bijan his feet under him right away in the game is very important. You can even run like screens. I know Bijan's a great catcher too. He's a great receiving back out of the backfield too. But I think sort of getting into Cameron Hayward, getting into TJ Watt, and sort of establishing the game in the trenches is going to be big for Atlanta's first couple drives.
Yeah, and in terms of throwing the ball, you're obviously more intact than I am. What's the Falcons O line like? Because we do know Kirk loves his wide receivers. He's made a lot of wide receivers in his career look really good. Justin Jefferson, Thielen, Stephon Diggs. He's made a lot of wide receivers look really good. So, what's Atlanta's O line like, and can they get Pitts and London into it early?
Yeah, Atlanta's line is actually really good. They have Chris Lidstrom, who's probably a top three right guard in the league. You got guys like Matthew Bergeron, who's in his second year after a strong rookie year. Jake Matthews has been the longest tenured Atlanta Falcon on this team. He was on the team whenever they were in the Super Bowl against the Patriots a couple years ago. He's still solid. Kale McGarry is a bit of a scary one on right tackle, but he has his games, but he also has really bad ones. Luckily, he is not Kirk's blindside protector. It is Jake Matthews, who I have a bit more trust in. I don't really see any issues with this offensive line, both pass protecting and run blocking.
No, it's a good point because most opposing quarterbacks going against Pittsburgh don't get much time to throw the ball downfield. So if they can hold for a couple seconds and give Kirk some time, we'll see what this passing game is like for
We'll
Atlanta.
definitely be seeing TJ Watt line up against Caleb McGarry as much as possible, being that he is the weaker of the tackles between him and Jake Matthews. But yeah, you'll definitely see a lot of double teams on TJ on Sunday.
For sure. And I'll be interested to see what Kirk looks like coming back from that
Achilles.
ACL, right? It was the
Achilles.
Achilles. Yeah, that's a tough one to come back from, right? Obviously, like you can practice as much as you want, but until you're actually in a full game where people are trying to kill you out there, um, that's when you see if you could actually fully trust your Achilles, and we'll see if he's not a runner, but he will run if needed, and we'll be interested to see if he does go out of the pocket a couple times.
Yeah, and Kirk's a vet. He knows what he can and can't do, and what he knows whether or not to make the play or not. So I don't have really any issues. It's actually, like you said, the very first time in a while I've been confident going into a season as an Atlanta Falcons fan.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't know if you have the schedule in front of you. Can you to finish off? Can you pick one upset this week that you're not totally like you wouldn't put money on, but you wouldn't be surprised if you saw it happen?
Yeah, one sec. I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, I'll give you mine first. Mine is going to be the Carolina Panthers beating the New Orleans
I don't even
Saints.
know if that's such an upset because both those teams suck.
No, I know, but it is like in the betting line, it is a 4 point favorite for
Okay, fair
New
enough. Yeah.
Orleans. Plus, it is in New Orleans, but I feel like division games first week, it doesn't really matter what you project teams to be. I feel like as long as it's in division, it's going to be a close game regardless. And I do actually think the Panthers are better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. Like I think they upgraded their wide receiver room. Um, their running back, I think Chuba Hubbard will hold it down until is it Jonathan Brooks comes back, the rookie. And I feel like just he was the first overall draft pick for a reason. He's got to show
Gotta
flashes.
not suck.
Yeah, he's got to not suck. There, like he was first overall for a reason, even though he had a terrible year. Like there is something in there, and now that he's got experience, maybe he'll show it a little bit more. And I don't know. We'll see. Let's go Carolina.
So I have two that I'm pretty confident in saying.
Okay,
So my first one's gonna be the Patriots over the Bengals.
I was
Um,
thinking that.
as much as I just think this Demar Chase situation is gonna be make I don't know if the Bengals won't be focused, but it's gonna be like a recurring theme in
It's
this
got to be in
thing.
everyone's mind right now.
It's gotta be like your number
He
one
hasn't
receiver.
practiced.
And the fact is, it's not like he's a free agent right now. He still has 2 years on his contract.
Hmm.
So he's not even free agent next year. It's very weird situation, but that's one of my picks. Second one I'm going Cardinals over Bills.
I was actually thinking that one too.
I I think that the Bills are gonna start slow and they're gonna do what they did last season where they win like a bunch of games at the end of the year and make it close. I don't remember if I think I had the Bills missing the playoffs.
I
Uh,
think you did, yeah.
I think I did, but just barely. But yeah, I honestly would not be I'd be okay with throwing like a $5 bet on both of those straight
Fair
up
enough.
money.
I'll throw out another one too, just because you threw out two. This one's not as egregious as those ones, but I'll take the Rams over the Lions in Detroit. I feel like Detroit's a hard place to play, but if anybody knows it, it is Matt Stafford. And you do have Puka and oh my Cooper Cup
Mhm.
playing together, which is scary. So I feel like an upset could definitely happen there because Stafford knows that environment and can adapt to it pretty well.
All right, we have less than a minute, so I'll wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe. NFL season's back. We got some more content, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.